Hey Internet, I am Butley. Patch is here with me. Say hello to everyone, Patch.
I sure am.
Yes. We are playing Tactics Ogre. We are up to... I had to think about that for a second. It's episode 24. Things are getting serious.
That is to say, we have done some mini episodes, which didn't count as full episodes. And our last episodes, there were 2 episodes, but they were split into 2. So yeah, this is still technically 24. Just in case you're wondering about the number of videos.
Yeah, there are definitely more episodes. Basically what I'm trying to do is make this... Like, the story is supposed to be like an epic story, and I'm trying to keep the episode counter to sort of match how the story's going, if that makes sense. I want it to feel episodic. And so when sort of like we don't have enough content to make up enough story progression, I cut it into sort of mini episodes. The last 2 were like 2 tangential kind of stories, and together they advanced the story a bit, but you know, individually neither of them really were enough for a full episode of events, so we made 23A and 23B. That's my logic anyway. The last episode we speculated, well, we had Patch speculate what he thinks is going to happen, and here will be the first revelation of something. I'm so excited for the next few episodes, so much stuff happens.
I'm just going to enjoy, because I have been LOL smooth.
What did I say about meeting an old adversary?
Really? Him?
He ran away when we fought him. Was he the one that we fought where the water was and he had the octopus?
Yeah. I didn't think he was notable enough to come back.
I love him in a minute when he laughs. Oh, did I already skip it? Whoop. Get him! This is cool. So you can see on the team setup, I put me at the back because it didn't matter where I was, and I needed to be pretty specific about who was able to get up that bridge first, right in front of us.
Yeah.
So we do like a slow retreat, I think, from here.
Slow. I'd leg it. Leave Cat to her. She'll just teleport out.
Dear. Well, we're pretty durable. I know we're Valkyrie now, not Knight, but yeah, it's still pretty tough.
Yeah. I like that Little John is now a Terror Knight.
Oh, right. Yeah, I changed him. I'm just trying to level up like everything from level 1.
Yeah.
Because all it needs is 1 fight to level 6, whereas the difference between, you know, taking a level 5 Beast Tamer, he would only get to level 6 or 7 anyway, so it's not really worth it. But just a couple of missions away from that all making sense. Yeah, I thought each description of dragon had a different description, but it didn't. And I'm pretty sure all the dragons have a distinct, like, certain ones are tankier, certain ones deal more damage. I can never remember all that stuff without looking it up.
Oh wow, a hoplite.
Right, it's an interesting class. It's basically like a tankier warrior style, kind of like a knight, but I think he also has plenty of damage. Which is good when you have someone like Martine. This is the sort of why I started thinking of someone who can do a lot of damage to reptiles. Because they have tankier units, the reptile classes. Excuse me. Yeah, just looking at through some of the classes, seeing what we're up against. I think I get to checking out the magic style, pure dark, enchantress. Have we seen rogues before?
I think so.
I couldn't remember.
It might have been a male rogue, is the thing.
They're supposed to be like masters
what class was Vice?
Tricks. He was assassin class. That's like a unique class. I don't even... The way to get assassin class is really difficult from what I can remember, so...
I'm surprised you didn't go on top of the building.
I think I'm trying to bottleneck. There's like one little path between those 2 buildings, and I'm saying I'm gonna stand in the way.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, bit of posturing going on here. I thought it was cool. I don't know. I like Japan. I like all the bits and pieces of characters. Some of them come and go.
I will say, I think I was on the mark with reintroducing a prior villain, but I don't think Japan's significant enough. I think he's like, if he doesn't run away, he dies. He's not like I don't know. He doesn't seem like a recurring villain.
Well, give him his chance. But
Yeah, okay.
I forgot about that, but that's the team. I think that's it there. I moved it up a little bit, trying to get all the text boxes in. But,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if I like it. I'll probably try and customize it. I'd love it if I can make it a bit more transparent, but obviously I would need to not use such a boring text editor to create it. But anyway, this is part of the learning journey of doing this kind of thing. So, speaking of things that I am learning about Let's Plays, not really. That's a really awful segue. I watched a Let's
That
Play.
is. Do you want me to segue instead?
Speaking of Square Enix and games created by Square Enix,
Oh god.
I watched a Let's Play of Final Fantasy VII the other day, or just recently, and I love that game so much, but you can't really say I'm a fan. Oh, this is cool. She's like, I'd rather die. He's like, it's almost worth it if you cut my head off and I can die, like have my head on a pike next to yours. Hey. She's saying
You
she'd
should try and
rather.
recruit him.
Look at him, plucking at the strings of my heart. I love this guy. He just shamelessly hits on her the whole time while threatening to like murder everyone. It's fantastic. So Final Fantasy VII is a game. I've only played Final Fantasy VII like 1.5 times. So it's hard to say I'm a real big fan, but so this is why I watched the Let's Play, because it's always been a thing. I played through it the first time, absolutely loved it a few years back, and since then I've always been like, I feel like I only got, like, your first pass at that game is like you only get the experience that you created, and I know there's so much more to it. And I didn't really ever look up all the bits and pieces and mini videos of all the things, so I was thinking, well, maybe I should watch a full Let's Play as someone who does everything, and then I learn, like, everything. And so, that's what I did. And I really loved it. I think it has an amazing story. I love stories. Stories of any kind. It's like, it's hard to explain. But
well,
my own little taste on things, like, it's why I like a lot of BioWare games, because they have a lot of story. I'm happy to have, like, people will say, oh, the BioWare games are sort of, it's like a Mass Effect is like a cut price shooter with a lot of like pointless choices and stuff, but I like it, and not every choice has to mean everything. I just like that the story plays out. I like having narrated characters. I like that whole immersive storytelling element, and I can get by with some of the combat and that just being there to break up the constant text.
Well, I mean,
that's like stories of all kinds.
That's what I've said in the past, is that I don't particularly care for heavy oriented stories, like heavy dialogue.
Right.
And grinding especially bothers me a bit. Like I like to be. I feel like I need to feel like I'm progressing. I don't want to just be running around fighting random encounters at any point.
We should point out that's why this game is so good. Like,
yeah, I've noticed that.
We're 24 episodes, you know, give or take, number of videos in, and we haven't really ever stopped to grind anywhere, right?
No. And yeah, so I've that's why I've never played it personally. However, I do know a lot about Final Fantasy. I followed along a fair bit.
You don't care about spoilers, even if there was stuff you didn't
know,
know,
right?
right?
Of course not. And I like, I can definitely appreciate what the game is. It's hard not to, for its absolute significance.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't followed enough to understand what all the criticisms of it are, because I know that it's like the Ocarina of Time thing. For every person who says it was like the best thing ever and it really set a path or set video games or set a certain style of video games on a path, there's someone who's like, yeah, but it sucks because of this, right? And
yeah.
I don't know what all those criticisms are of Final Fantasy. Yes, it's a complicated game. Yes, the story's huge. Yes, it has like a weird mix of seriousness and weird motivations and then humor, and it's really unique in that element. But
That's a topic in of itself. If you wanted to briefly touch on that.
yeah, sure. We're just shooting the breeze
Well-
today. I hate that expression, but it seems appropriate here.
Well, basically, the reason people would hate something like Final Fantasy is they look at it and they go, well, I've played something more recent that maybe mechanically or visually or even story-wise is better implemented. And they say, so why is this game so widely loved? Like, why is this game considered one of the best? And the reason is because back in the day, that was the pinnacle. And not only was it the pinnacle, it still stands up by today's standards as an exemplary game. Like, the things that Final Fantasy VII did were astounding.
Because Final Fantasy VII, in terms of, I don't know, so the good things are like the story. That never will get better or worse. That's timeless, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, short of it being retreaded enough times, enough of the elements, and people start going, oh, it's cliche. Well, short of that, it will probably stay kind of timeless, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, the problem is it sort of defined a lot of RPG popular tropes and elements, and now that other RPGs do them, the fact that Final Fantasy VII has them feels less significant in
Right.
hindsight, but it is still just as significant. Like,
Yeah,
shouldn't-
definitely.
It's just the problem is a lot of people who didn't play it at the time didn't get the same impact. It's the
Right.
same for, like you said, Ocarina of Time. It's the same for Pokemon games and all that. Like any old game that's super significant at its time is now like, oh, why is this so important? And that's just because over time, the experience that people had then has been replicated by other games, and maybe not as well, or maybe even better. But the fact that they're replicating it sort of dulls down the initial time it was done.
Right. I definitely
was
played
special.
through Final Fantasy VII and spent a large portion of my time there thinking, wow, this combat is it's sort of so-so, you know? There's
Yeah.
not that much to do, and so much of the stuff that you can do is redundant, blah blah blah, or there's not enough information on, you know, it's like, oh, that element or that materia might be super effective against a particular boss, but there's not enough information, so 95% of people who play the game will never bother using that materia because it sucks, but you know, or that's some
The other aspect of it is when it first came out, what's a bet? Like nobody looked up on the internet how to do anything because it came out
97.
yeah, really like before the internet was huge. So all of the game was basically playing through your own experience. There was no spoilers. There was no look up a guide to help you. It was all just try things until it worked.
I wonder if
And
that's
that
half the reason
really
that it
changes the game.
survived so long. Sorry, like people didn't know how to play, and it wasn't. And then with the discovery of the internet and the information sharing, you know, people got like second wind of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can go on with your point.
No, that's an interesting thing because it's sort of the number of secrets in a game does give it longevity. Like the longer it takes to find those secrets, so long as because that's something like it's a personal experience. If you could play a game, the same game, like 5 or 6 different ways, and have a new experience each time you do it, then that can really change the longevity of the game. Like this game, for example, you have many different paths. So you can just go, well, today I'm going to go do this path, and I have an entirely different experience, and that can
Certainly.
vastly improve the game.
Into using
And-
different characters and things like that as well.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy was good for that because there was at least 2 characters I can think of that were optional.
Right.
I don't know. You might need to confirm
No,
this.
two
but-
optional characters that you might never see. They're not in any of the cutscenes
Yep.
because of that.
Yeah, so there's Vincent, and then there's Yuffie, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those 2 optional, but the fact that they existed in the game and were an option, that was like another thing a player could do, and that's really rewarding. Ouch.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do in Final Fantasy VII that you could argue is like side questing, but I don't. It all seems all the side quests are sort of relevant to the main game. And I mean, in a lot of cases, it just means, it can get you a certain item, but part of that game was collecting the items, or the extra weapons, or the right materia, or you need this armor to absorb this, or protect you from this. Like, certain things were good. And I think once you start to discover the game, you start saying to yourself, oh, I'm going to fight this boss, I need this particular thing. And I think that's a positive kind of element to the game.
Well, would you mind examining it compared to a popular modern day RPG, right?
Well, the hard part is, what do you even put in that class now? BioWare?
Well, yeah, I was going to say something like Skyrim or BioWare or something like that.
I've never played Skyrim, so you could go that way if you want to. I can't help.
Well, what I wanted to bring up was you brought up a very good point, and that's every quest you did, or at least almost every quest you did, somehow advanced the game, like in some way. Doing a quest to get an extra item gave you an advantage in some form, and there's a lot of games these days where you do a quest and the only thing it does is make you stronger or, gives you XP. It ticks your numbers up. It doesn't provide you a new tool or a change in your experience. And when I say experience, I don't mean experience points. I mean experience like the experience of the game you're playing. Whereas what I mean is if you do a quest and someone doesn't do that quest, your game can change based off that fact. Whereas a lot of these modern games, when you do a quest and you just get your bulk experience reward and nothing else, then you're just like, oh, okay, I've got the same experience as someone who did another quest. We didn't have two different... And so that sort of diminishes the exploration and a lot of the fun you can get out of the game in many ways.
Exactly right. In Final Fantasy VII, you definitely are finding that anything you did got you something. Like, not everything was unique and interesting, but there was definitely enough of that it was worth chasing all the side events to hopefully get something special and unique. Like, everyone has like special items to get their limit breaks. Everyone has certain variations of weapons, and they're not just this weapon is more powerful. They all do different things, whether it work with materia or have certain slots or just deal pure damage or certain things. Like, so here's a good example. Tifa, who she's sort of a damage character. One of the strategies you can use with her, she has an item called the Power Soul. It's a weapon, so you go get her that weapon, and it deals more damage the less health she has. Yeah. Or it deals more damage when she's lower than a quarter health or something like that. And so if you can then build a strategy around having that item and having her under a quarter health, well, she deals massive damage. So that side quest to get that item, and I can't remember where you get it, so maybe it's not a side quest at all. But whatever you do to get that item, like, it's relevant. It changes your play style. It changes how you look at the game. So, whatever you do to get that item, it's cool. And so every other item she has is like, does it help that strategy, or does it change that strategy, or do I do something else with her now, or what? And that's the point that you're trying to make. Like, everything you do is relevant to what's going on.
What was the one you told me recently? Because you did watch it, and you were saying the Let's Player, they wanted to go fight Emerald Weapon?
Yep, one of the main bosses. Yep.
Yeah, and that's underwater. So you need to go do a side quest to get a gem that allows you to stay underwater for more than 10 or 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, so what happens
or you die.
That's right. So the boss, the time limit for the boss is 20 minutes. There's not a time limit for every boss. Just this one, because he's underwater, because theoretically you can only go under there for so long. And so they're like, okay, so you can pick a strategy that needs to beat him in 20 minutes, or if you think you need to take longer, then you need to go and try and find an item that'll let you spend longer under there.
Yeah, and that's like a very interesting aspect, because then you do have that option. Didn't realize I could clear that gap.
Yeah, I think originally I didn't either.
But yeah, it definitely changes things up, and that's just what we've been talking about. Is you've got this sort of specific way to fight a boss, and a lot of this also, I want to point out, is tied to mechanics. If a game doesn't have deep enough combat or game mechanics in general, then you can't get this experience. If all you have is like damage, and that's it, like we've talked about before with Payday and Borderlands and things, if all you have is how you do damage and all you can modify is DPS, then your game will never have this sort of great experience where you can go out and find these unique items that modify how things are run. And a lot of people would say, oh, that's a bad design because it means you have to do this to beat this boss. And it's like, well, somewhat and somewhat not, because you can sort of work around it, and it also encourages you to go exploring and try different things, and rewards you for finding more stuff.
Right.
Sometimes,
like you say, it doesn't just reward you with boosts; it rewards you with unique things that change the experience.
yeah, and this ties into another discussion we've had to do with that timers in video games.
Yep.
Sometimes you shouldn't let your players do everything in their first playthrough. You should leave things that they won't discover unless they go out of their way to try and find it. Unless they're roaming around and trying to do things, you know?
With all the hand-holding in games these days, it really spoils that.
Yeah, anytime there's a quest marker or anything like that, it's really just a downer.
Oh, so much of Final... Alright, so my example, my first time playing Final Fantasy, and this long-range damn daggers thing is so annoying, because they're dagger wielders, so you think you're safe, and then they use that that special, and it's so annoying. My experience with Final Fantasy, so the first thing I did at the start, I had to leave the original town, which is after sort of the intro part, and I didn't know where to go. What happens is, there's like one line of dialogue when you pick your team, excuse me, and half the team sort of goes and says, alright, you're going to go with these characters, well, we'll meet you here, and they run off. But when they say, we'll meet you here, they actually just say, we'll meet you up in the town northeast of here.
Yeah.
And if you don't read that one line of dialogue, you just like click, 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 whatever. I want to get out into the open world now. This is amazing. Then
yeah,
you don't like. There is no indication where to go. Like sometimes process of elimination because you've got to walk and there's only so many places you can walk to. But I remember that my first time out there in the open world, I'm like, wow, I actually should have paid attention because I have no idea what to do. And that's
some of my favorite. Yeah, some of my favorite parts of RPGs or adventure games. Because I haven't played many RPGs. Some of my favorite parts of those is when I walk around, I'm sort of not doing anything. I don't know, I'm just sort of throwing pots or exploring caves. And then I find something unique. And I find something and I'm like, oh wow, this is really rewarding. Like one such example was second generation of Pokemon. One day I was just like, oh, there's water in the daycare center. I'm going to go fish in it and see what comes up. And then I caught a Corsola, which I'd never seen before, and I didn't know existed because obviously I didn't look up the internet, didn't have internet back then. And that was completely unique to me. I was like, oh my god, look, you can find this unique Pokemon in this specific place, just because I was mucking around. And yeah, like we've said, you probably wouldn't get that in modern Pokemon.
No, you're right.
You'd be like, oh, how do I get this Pokemon? And then there'd be an NPC just waiting around going, oh, did you know you can find this Pokemon here and you have to do this to get it?
I feel like it's really hard. Like, Pokemon is... See, having sort of
Pokemon's
seen
still right
Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 7 and sort of the building blocks of Final Fantasy, because a lot of that's... Like, Pokemon came from a lot of this kind of thing. You can't deny that the fighting combat style started out pretty much identical.
Yeah.
And... Which is fine, whatever. What I'm trying to say is, like, Pokemon, for me, now that I've seen a bit more Final Fantasy, it's almost in this awkward area between not being Final Fantasy but trying to have a lot of that. We've talked in a few videos about, say, Pokemon and, say, things like the evolution items and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I can see what they're trying to do there now that I've seen more Final Fantasy. They're obviously trying to make it so, like, when you do explore and you do find certain unique items and, you know, like a Magmarizer and, you know, that only works with one Pokemon. You know, they're trying to create that atmosphere again. They're trying to say, oh, he went exploring, he found this unique item, he can get this unique Pokemon. Whereas to me, that in Pokemon, the way Pokemon work, because there's so many NPCs, it's not as significant, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like they're trying to copy Final Fantasy elements without quite being Final Fantasy yet. That's my point.
Well, I mean, the thing is, in Pokemon, because there is as many playable characters as there are Pokemon, essentially.
Yep.
Like, that is what a Pokemon fundamentally is a playable member of your party. Yep. And because there is that many, each individual specific one isn't as special. And Pokemon's specialness sort of comes from your own sentiment, so to speak. Like,
yeah.
If you get a Pokemon early on and you don't like it too much, you use it anyway, and then it's the one that wins you a gym battle one day. And suddenly you're like, oh man, this guy won me a gym battle. I'm going to keep him forever. And you keep him forever. Like, that's the sort of thing that comes with Pokemon. Because Pokemon can't give you story with your Pokemon. It can't make you,
Right.
you know,
There's
love
no
your
other-
starter more, because you can just switch them out for another Pokemon. So,
Yeah, no, you're right. You're exactly right. And so I feel like I can understand where they're going, where Pokemon's going with that kind of mentality, where they're like,
yeah.
okay, we're going to, you know, create items, make this sort of, you go side questing into that dungeon
Nice.
that you don't need to go into, and we'll reward you with a unique item that helps you evolve a unique Pokemon, or, you know, a stone that evolves a bunch of rare Pokemon, or, you know,
Yeah.
and that's fine, but like you say, it's not as impactful because it's not unique. So they're trying to copy those elements because it's not Final Fantasy. It doesn't really pay off, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, again, Pokemon's sort of its own beast, and
Yeah, I know.
They-
My point
they
is just
still-
like I can see them copying elements of like based on Final Fantasy kind of stuff, and I wish they would sort of
yeah.
branch out a little bit more. I think they could.
I feel like Pokemon is one game away from, you know, greatest game of all time, like top 100 list. I feel
Right.
like all they need to do is get all the elements right and not worry about corporate executive, you know, meddling, and then they will produce an absolutely amazing game. But until that day, they're gonna keep. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna keep floundering.
I feel like most
they
Pokemon
could one day-
games are like we make 3 good things and then we add 1 dodgy feature and that kind of spoils all that good work, and then we take that
Yeah.
out, but then in the next game we make 3 new things and one of them's dodgy and it does the same thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how many
Anyway.
goes did they have at trying to get traits and personalities right? Like they were changing them like crazy, and then it was I don't know. They just
EVs, IVs, those as well.
yeah, that sort of stuff.
Anyway, so back to the topic of Final Fantasy.
Sure.
And yeah, so the point being is the game has a lot of mechanical depth, and because it has this mechanical depth and variety and options, and uniqueness, because you've only got a limited, 7 or so characters, who you end up with in your party, and who you get items for, and what secrets you uncover, can drastically change the game experience you have compared to what game experience someone else might have.
Yeah.
And that is
Sorry.
a very positive thing for video games. And that's something I feel like you don't see as much in modern RPGs.
You're certainly right, and I mean, you're not as big in RPGs, and that's fine. One thing I always say
No.
about RPGs is that you kind of have to create a bit of your own immersion. A lot of people say, oh, I didn't like, say, Mass Effect because all the characters were like cardboard cutouts and one notes. Yeah, I didn't know I needed line of sight for that attack. Thanks, Knight, you healed me.
Yeah.
And so I kind of get that, but at the same time, you've got to sort of immerse yourself in some of these characters sometimes. Or they
Yeah.
will never work for you. I definitely try and have like my own sort of ideas of. No, I don't like create backstories in my mind beyond what the game says. Like I don't create my own fanfic in my head while I'm playing one of these games, but I do try and imagine what the character is like as a whole, and not just in the situations that they're put in and the things that they specifically say.
Oh, you're about to lose your archer, I think.
Yeah, I think this gets a bit hairy from here on. We're getting a bit smashed.
You moved your knight for some reason.
I didn't want him to get into the mages. I didn't want the golem to go because they have that.
Oh, I
AoE
thought it was-
attack.
I thought it was blocked because of your other knight had the
Yeah.
AoE effect.
We could have stepped
Ah.
like 1/4. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. That hits everything. So I kind of failed
Yeah.
what I was trying to do. The reason I was getting wrecked was mostly because I was trying to do this.
Yeah.
I kind of let him come and smash my whole backline instead of just killing that dragon and that golem. Is it going to be worth it? Uh-oh. Yay.
Let us last.
So, what I thought was cool about him is, this is what I like. I recruit him. It's like, you're about to die, but if you join me, I will heal you.
Yeah.
What I liked about him, he has a throwing skill. That's his weapon.
Yeah, I saw.
Slut. So we'll get to explore that in a little bit. I need to actually buy some throwing weapons, but he's got like javelins he can throw, stuff like that. The only problem is he joins our party and I only have one javelin in my inventory, so he can only throw one, and then he's kind of useless.
So, the other interesting thing about Final Fantasy VII is they're doing the remake soon, very soon.
Is that not done? I couldn't keep up with it. So someone told me it's like PlayStation only, and I don't have any PlayStation.
No, I'm pretty sure what they did was they released a Final Fantasy VII on computer like a year ago. And that was just Final Fantasy VII released on PC.
Yeah, I've got that. I got that off Steam when it came
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
And then now they're doing the complete remake, which is, you know, who knows?
Yeah, I
Could be
heard
amazing.
they're going to change some of it.
And that's what's interesting about it, is that they are changing stuff.
I actually... it's so hard, because I want, like, you're like... If you're a massive fan of Final Fantasy VII, like, all you want fixed is some of the little bugs in the game.
Yeah.
And some of the dialogue, like, especially in the English translation, you want some of that fixed. And if it's voiced, you probably go here nor there. I mean, I think companies have decided that voicing everything basically is what makes a AAA game from an indie game these days, so voicing will
that's a
just
fair
be a
point.
thing, and I don't think that makes it, I mean, it's a tough one. The problem is, like, I came through the 90s as, like, when you played a game and there was a character talking, you had to imagine what they sounded like. That's just how I grew up. So now when everyone sounds like exactly what the developers want them to sound like, then, you know, it seems odd. But I don't think it's inherently
You also don't
worse.
have to read.
Right. Yeah, I definitely like turning subtitles off and listening sometimes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I don't
point
know.
being in Final Fantasy, I don't think any of the it's not inherently bad just because of the voice acting or just because they're making changes. I don't mind if they change a few things, especially if they're changing like minor things to add more. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's a question. Are the themes of Final Fantasy and the elements of the story, are they enough to carry it? Are they enough that even if you change it, you know, somewhat significantly, like change the combat, but you keep the story pretty much the same, will it be the same game? Will it be as fun? Or, like, not saying the combat gets better or worse, but will it still be as good because of the story? Will the story still carry it? And I don't know, because it's such a hard question to answer, but it's just something I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, that's right. We're not here to... This isn't as definitive a thing that we're talking about today, where we come and express our opinions. We're just waffling.
I like to imagine this is always a conversation rather than a...
Right.
You
Just
know.
sometimes we're a bit more, like, clinical in our... Like, way we
Yeah,
come
sometimes
to
we
it.
have specific reasons we believe things, and other times we just want to know what people think. Other
Here we
people.
go. In game.
each other.
So you might remember one of our old strategies that we've kind of been going away from of late. When
Yeah,
things get
Canopus
hairy,
save the day.
Canopus, can you just kill the main boss? And we just lost 3 guys, and we got multiple dragons and golems that we can't deal with. And we actually probably have too much back range. We probably needed another frontliner. That's one thing our team is really lacking right now, is frontline.
Yeah.
Voltaire
Well,
and
if you get that
Folkord
Terra
and
Knight up.
Yeah, well, Terra Knight, or you go get Johannes, the Berserker. He'll be coming into his own soon. He'll have some cool abilities. I feel sorry for Voltaire here. I've stolen life from him in the back. I've shot him in the back. He got knocked out, and we're using his corpse as a block to protect our mages. He's not having a good day, our poor knight. I'm out of javelins. No, I have
Folkord's
no-
like, oh, is this how you guys fight?
Yeah. Welcome to the team, Folkord. I was trying to look in my inventory, like, where javelins would be, and then I realized, wait, I have no javelins. Of course I can't see in the inventory. It's just, I'm a dropkick sometimes. You forget that I'm recording sometimes, and so I do the same things that I would just do when I wasn't recording, and then I'm like, wait, people are
Yeah.
gonna see that. Uh-oh. It's so bad.
Oh man, you can jump across. Get over there, mage. Get in the front lines.
But anyway,
He's guarded
if-
by 2 barrels, he would have been fine.
just steal health out of them barrels like you did Falkert. So I'm looking forward to the Final Fantasy remake. I think it'll look cool. I watch Advent Children. I love that. It's a, like,
Oh,
people.
Advent Children
I
is a
think
great movie.
what people don't like about it is that Like they're like it doesn't do anything. It just spoiler just excuse me revives Sephiroth for the sake of it. They just picked all the cool characters and put them in. Like it's like Rufus. You wouldn't know the story as much. Rufus is President Shinra, or the young President Shinra.
Yeah,
And,
I know that much.
He gets killed in the main story of Final Fantasy VII, and they sort of bring him back to life. It's like, oh, no one actually saw him die. It's like,
Yeah.
Alright. And even but I don't know. It's a fanfic movie, you know.
Well, I mean, from what I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the creators were like, just ignore physics, just make, cool fights.
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah.
And as a movie that is cool fights, it is cool fights all the way through. You get some ridiculous stuff, but it's like watching The Matrix, or the Matrix 2 specifically, where it was just goofy, cool fights the whole way, and not very good otherwise.
Yeah. to me, I find that it almost does too much story. I actually don't really care much about the stigma element of the movie and stuff like that. It's like, that's just a plot device to get everyone together and have the reason for them to fight.
Yeah, I do feel like that dragged on a bit.
Even then, the stigma element of it isn't really the reason they fight. It's because the others are trying to do the reunion still. And so I'm like, I don't really care for all that stuff. I almost feel like I would have. I mean, the problem is though is at its cost. It's like, how many times did Red talk in the whole movie? Once. He has one line of dialogue. And I was like, I would have loved to heard him talk more, but then I realized like he's probably the hardest to edit talking.
Yeah.
Because they render him like his whole face and his whole body, and it all reacts when he talks. And
yeah.
That's probably really hard. So they didn't have him talk much. And so yeah, fair enough. But I almost feel like some more of that would have been cool instead of all the talking to the clones and stuff. But I mean, they were trying to build their world, I suppose.
I don't know. I feel like it feels more like sort of like how DLC is these days, where you get the main game, and packaged in that game is the entire experience. And then they go, okay, here's a DLC with extra content, and it's just like a side story.
Yeah.
Or like an add-on on the end.
It's
like
hard to
if
get
you
DLC, right? We should definitely
Yeah.
cut through some games and DLC, because I'm a BioWare, someone who's played a lot of BioWare stuff, and I could definitely talk about good and bad DLCs. Maybe that's another thing for another time.
One of the examples I wanted to bring up was Fable 2, where at the end you can get DLC for it, where you go fight like ghost pirates.
Oh, did
It's
you
like
like
you're
any of
already you're already capped out at that point of the game.
I've already
You're just
won the
fighting
game.
enemies that are
Did you get the DLC where you like go to that place and the whole story is you have to change the weather and stuff?
I don't know.
That was one of the last DLCs they did. It was totally, I don't know, it was all garbage. I only played it once. I didn't really enjoy it.
But that's what I mean. It's like it doesn't impact the main story. It's really just there to be like, okay, here's something else you can get. We should have a talk about DLC in general, because I would love to complain about DLC.
I would love to basically.
That's my thoughts on the matter.
Pick half a dozen DLCs, maybe a couple for one game, and like talk through good versus bad. Like what I'd like to have some good DLC and not just rail on it as a concept. Anyway,
No finishing attack?
We'll figure
Oh, you
that
don't have
out.
enough points yet, do you?
But we will close that discussion here because that's Zapan's like, yeah, screw this.
Yeah.
We want to talk about this story because spoilers, things happen.
Spoilers in a story? Spoilers, things happen?
I love this game. I don't know how well it was received. I came to the party. I think I got onto this like really early, but I never, because it was on my PSP and I used to just play that like quietly on my own. I never really looked up how popular this was, and now here we are like 10 years later, and it's like, probably not 10 years.
Oh my god, I was wrong.
This is at Rhyme, where we were going. We're fighting on the outskirts because we got ambushed. Dun 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 dun.
Those knights look cool though. I like the helmets.
They're the Knights of Lotus.
Yeah.
So this is a new Dark Knight. Ah, there he is.
So, I want to say I was wrong about who was going to show up, but I want to say that I was mostly right about who wouldn't show up. I specifically knew that this was the time in the story where it had to be someone who wasn't Vice or Leonard. So
I just like that this is the natural progression. I mean, right back at the start of chapter 2, and I wish I'd taken this damn picture down. I wish I could go and post-edit that. I probably could if I was smarter, but anyway. Right back at the start of chapter 2, we said... oh, wait a second. I'll get back to that point. Yeah, I found him. What?
this feels like a trap.
No.
Hello.
He found me. Way back in chapter 2, we started talking about, Lancelot's in Rhyme, let's get to Rhyme. And this whole journey has been to get to Rhyme. And now we're here, and sure enough, Lancelot is here. So. And you can argue, oh, the timing is so convenient that the Dark Knights just happen to attack. It's like, well, no, actually, the time we arrived is dependent on the fact, the same reason the Knight. Keep in mind, we just finished killing the Galgastani leader.
Yeah.
And the Knights, seemingly affiliated with Bakram, attacked.
Yeah. Which was what that person said. Well, they said the Duke, but...
Yeah, the Duke, yeah. And here there is another Dark Knight that we've not met before.
Mm-hmm.
We've only met a few of them. Oh, Gildas. Remember him from the early missions, the White Knights?
Yes. Vaguely.
Yay.
I remember his stupid haircut.
Yeah.
On his character model.
Yeah.
On his actual avatar, it looks fine, just...
I really have to keep in mind to take down that thing. That's terrible. Anyway. I will learn from this. No, he's getting away. It's so weird, they're just playing around with the sprites. It's scary how big her eyes are. She has anime eyes. When she has like such a serious like portrait, anime eyes just don't work for her. That was cool, but there's an action sequence. That guy tried to run at him and he blocked it with his shield, parried him back. Dun 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 dun. Ah. Ooh. I kind of skipped the dialogue, but I think it was implied that he stabbed him with like a poison dagger or something.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like playing dirty was the point of that, I think.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But yeah, we always said we were looking for Lancelot. The timing that we got here was directly, we couldn't go the way we wanted to go because of the Duke and the way they were moving, so it made sense that we took this way around and we could only get here at this time while the Duke was busy finishing off the Galgastani. So the timing of the attack does matches, but it's not as much of a coincidence because it kind of makes sense in the context of the story. They're going to attack while the Duke's away, aren't they?
So I also partly called Katua being a guest at this point, and her being a guest in this story, like why she was still a guest. I wasn't 100% on the mark. I thought we were looking at third chapter, because you said there's 4 chapters, right?
I believe there's 4 chapters, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking by the 3rd chapter, Vice would show up and kill her or something. But no, it's 2nd chapter, she's going to get kidnapped. We're going to rescue her, she'll join the party for real. If she doesn't join the party for real at that point, then yeah, she's going to die. There's no...
I'm not saying anything, I know what happens with a lot of these characters, so... It's fun. What do we do at the end of this? I think we read through some of the Warren. As you can see, we bailed from Rhyme because it was getting attacked, like overrun.
Yep.
That was going to be like another massacre. You remember when we said Goliath got absolutely wrecked?
Yeah.
That was by the Dark Knights. It's another massacre like that, so we know not to stay there. Zapan said he was going to take Quechua to Almerica, and he can go down the coast, whereas we have to sort of sail around. So that's our next target, but we're going to spend a minute just going through the Warren.
Is that where the Duke is?
It's where we originally rescued him from, so it was kind of where the Galgastani was set up to a degree.
Okay.
It's
they're
sort of
probably
an
not there
independent castle. The Duke at the moment is at Karatine or whatever, which is the Galgastani flagship. Whereas Almerica is, it's kind of where the Wallace the Duke sets up when he's not busy conquering.
Well, that's odd, because I would assume there was a capital in the region, like in the kingdom before everything fell to pieces, and that would be the place they're trying to claim. Because
I can't remember. It might have been Karatani. That might be the capital, and Galgastani held it, so it's a big deal for us to take it.
You're right. That was what I was thinking. Is that'd be playing to like a more not realistic, but that's the sort of thing. It'd be like, this is the capital of this region. Like Rome. Owning Rome in the medieval ages would have been a big deal, because then you have the Pope, you have, the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, or not the Holy Roman Empire, the heart of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm not 100% sure. I think you're probably right.
Like
I probably don't know well enough. It's probably established if I read into it better. It's probably Karatene is the capital, and Galgastani took it, and we're the bosses because of this, and
Well, I'm just speculating on where you'll find the Duke next, because I suspect obviously you won't find the Duke in the next thing. I don't think you'll find him at Almorica, whatever it was, where we're headed.
Castle.
Yeah, we won't find him there.
Don't know. We'll find Zapan there, apparently.
And hopefully we'll find Katua.
Balbastas. I like how the little age in the top right corner of the thing bio goes when they're killed.
Oh.
Oh well, it's bleak. I think it's a cool little change. He was executed, so that was the Galgastani
It replaces
leader.
the age with a date.
So these are the guys we met. Do I have a look at these guys? Yeah, this is the guy that led the campaign through Rhyme. He's supposed to be like big dumb hulk of a man. He was put on trial for beating a superior offer to death. And then Dark Knight Lancelot said, "Hey, join my team. You're so cool. You can be part of the special ops team."
You seem competent.
Just the type of guy.
You can join me as long as you don't kill me.
This guy.
This guy is definitely like a poison themed guy.
This guy is like.
It always comes to
built
blood.
around trope. He's that image of that cocky master duelist who will win any way he can. But he's coy and he's cocky and he doesn't take anything seriously.
Did he kill anyone's father?
Maybe. Dun, dun, dun.
Do you even get that reference? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Is that a Game of Thrones reference?
No, it's the Princess Bride.
In which case, no.
You should watch that movie.
I know, it's one of them ones, I know.
It seems like such a, well, no, we'll talk about it some other day.
Yep. But that's, I like this episode. Things are happening, like, obviously the background invading changes the whole political party, like the political stand of the map. Like, prior to now, it was just Wallister and Galgastani, it ends, and Wallister is slowly peeling them away since we freed the Duke. Now, it's sort of like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Like, it's exciting. Things are changing. The world is changing. And obviously our path and like our own little ambition, like what do we do now that Lancelot is beyond our reach? Did they kill him? Like, he was kind of in battle at the town that got massacred, so we can't go to him anymore. So anyway, the world's changing, and I find that whole thing really interesting. And we might wrap it up there. So thanks to everyone for watching.
Consider it wrapped.
Yep. See you guys later.